Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
Beat me if you can! Come on!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my good brother from the Bullcast. It's Philip. How's it going, man?
Introduce me right.
The Podfather, right?
Nope.
Man, we're gonna do this game again. I'm tired of doing this.
25-year-old piece of gold, California classic, the innovator, the X Factor. You know, do you hear that though? That's the sound of your ratings actually going up. That's the sound of T-shirt sales going up. That's the sound of people sliding in the DMs wondering when we're doing In The Kliq live. You want all that stuff to happen? You gotta drop Richard. It's just that simple, man. It's that simple. He's new to this. I'm true to this. It's that simple.
I think what should happen, you and Richard should have a match. That should happen.
You don't want none.
Hardcore match between the two of you. I think that's what should happen here.
I'm gonna be hardcore, bro. I'll just like cradle him and be done.
There you go. Yeah, you do have the wrestling background. I will give you that advantage. But Philip, we're not alone tonight. We actually have a third guest joining us, a third co-host, and I would love for you to give the personal introduction here.
Let me show you how to do this. He's the icon. He's the main event. He's the true showstopper. The creator of Stockton and Lodi Con. The incomparable Mike Miller.
Thanks, guys. Well, especially Philip, but yes, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
It's so excited to have you here, Mike. I think for a lot of us wrestling fans, especially here in the independent scene here in the Bay Area, Northern California, we're big fans of you. We know of your work. You are, I would say, the best manager going right now. Is that a safe title or observation to give you?
I mean, that's your choice, not mine.
I
know Philip agrees with that, but I can't speak for myself.
Before we get into all this wrestling talk, let me give Mike his flowers.
Okay.
Let me give this man his flowers. You know, I'm just a kid from Hayward that got a wrestling podcast, and he allowed me to interview Kelly, and then most recently the Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase. He didn't have to do that, but he did. Mike's the real deal, man. He's a real one.
That's awesome.
I like to help people out, man. That's what I'm all about, man. Helping guys out. I mean, helping guys out. I'm on Huey's podcast tonight. I'm just trying to help him out.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mike. I look forward to this. I know it's been a long time making to get you on. It's just been a lot of stuff going on. I even have told you like some just behind the scenes stuff I've been dealing with work and whatnot. So, but it kind of works out. Things are kind of been calming down lately for me on the work front. So it's from a scheduling point, it's like, okay, we can make this work. And for tonight, we're going to talk some AEW Dynamite. They had a Saturday night version of it this week, and we haven't done it too much lately over the last couple months. We're going to talk some of the highlights from Monday Night Raw. I will give them credit. Raw's been a little bit better last week and this week, which is rare because for the last couple months, or actually for an even longer period of time, it's been a little tough to watch.
Raw's been great.
Raw's been great for Philip. Yes, it's been. But so I'm saying the last so between these two shows happening back to back, I figure we can touch on both of them on this episode of In The Kliq. And as always, remember, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. And before we get into that, there's actually a little bit of clickbait news I want to touch on this week. And I saw a lot of different outlets kind of covering this, and this is something kind of exciting, and it's kind of a little bit of a rare thing to happen. So Vince McMahon, he's on a big scouting mission, and Vince McMahon is planning on going to the Performance Center to look at some of the talent there and potentially, see who's working out there at the Performance Center with some of the upcoming talent. And I'm guessing he's trying to really start shaking up the roster. I believe Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis are going to be with him as well. And this is kind of a rare thing because, we know Vince McMahon owns all that, but it's very rare that he actually makes an appearance in person there, which I'm kind of shocked because he could easily just watch like tape footage or video footage. People could send him stuff. So the fact that he's personally going down there, I think speaks a lot. And there's some other related roster stuff I want to get into and kind of combine all that because there's been a lot of different outlets and reports breaking down ideas of what's going to be happening next for WWE once they go back on the road. But Mike, I'll give you the honor first. Just your overall thoughts on Vince McMahon himself going down to the Performance Center and seeing what talent's available for him.
Well, I mean, obviously, he's the owner. I mean, he's the guy who calls the shots. And I mean, who knows what actually goes on down there? Like, I think that, all of us have heard enough things over the course of the years about how much control he has over everything. Mm-hmm. I think that obviously there's been a little bit of a turning loose of NXT for Triple H, but like, I think that, overall, I mean, it's always his call. And anytime things happen that, get into a situation where things might change on Raw or SmackDown or things are brought in as potential angles, he's always going to have the bottom line, the final say on it. So, him getting down there and just seeing what he has to choose from, I think that's a huge thing. I think, we've talked about this in the past. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Karrion Kross, and I think that if there's one guy that they've signed in the recent past that is built for the main roster and built for Vince McMahon's prototype, I think he is that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been interesting, Phil. You and I, we talked about this a little bit off the air. You and I when we hung out the last couple weekends. So it looks like there's going to be a big shakeup when it comes to the roster, specifically Raw and SmackDown. As we know, they're going to go back on the road in a couple weeks. They're going to have Money in the Bank, the first pay-per-view in front of crowds. SummerSlam's going to be a big deal in Las Vegas. And they're going to get back to the groove of things before the pandemic, which is very exciting stuff. Apparently, there's a lot of rumors of them they're going to do a lot of things going back on the road, like test out some new ideas, maybe bring back King of the Ring and some other old school pay-per-views. Just to kind of freshen things up. And I think, if anything, roster-wise, Raw and SmackDown does need a little bit of freshening up. I think we've been seeing a lot of the same matchups and rematches. And, going off the Vince visiting the Performance Center, he probably wants to see who's the next big thing that he can bring up to Raw or SmackDown eventually. But also, there is reports that there's going to be a draft at the end of August or early September. They're going to do that as a big show as well, which I'm excited for. I used to love the draft, but now they kind of think just go through the motions. But Philip, your thoughts on Vince McMahon in person scouting down the Performance Center? And I hope he keeps it a surprise when he actually shows up, because I think it'd be better for the talent to kind of be caught off guard. If you knew the teacher was coming into the classroom, of course you're going to sit down and do your best work. But I think it'd be really cool if he just walks in and surprises all of them.
Teacher, bro, it's more like the principal, the superintendent. You feel me?
Exactly.
Look, man, I was on Twitter earlier, and people were like, "Oh, Vince is going to go to the Performance Center and just have these people sit in catering and release them in a couple of years." And I'm like, "Yo, let's stop the Vince bashing, all right?" Look, the guy's been on top for 40 plus years. Why? Because he knows what he's doing. I mean, look at all the instances and like the way Strowman was built organically. When Ambrose turned on Rollins the night Reigns announces he has leukemia. That's a Vince giving the call. He still has it. It comes in little spurts, but he still has it. You never know. He could take what's Rick Steiner's son? He could take that dude and make him a star.
Bronson Steiner,
The dude that looks like Brock, Parker Bordeaux. He could take him and make him a star. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Obviously, those guys, they're not ready, but I mean, he'll probably take some more seasoned talent who's been in NXT for a nice period of time. Not like an Adam Cole or anything, but somebody else, whoever else is down there. I can't think of anybody. Well, of the leases, but I think it'll be okay.
It's interesting some of those names you just brought up, because there was another report I saw the other day that there's kind of going to be like a new standard of like new talent that they sign. Recruits is they want people like, I think over 6 feet or 6'2", over 225, and I think under like 25 years old or something like that. So it sounds like they really are trying to plan ahead for the future, get some young talent in there and not sign like these older indie stars per se that they've been doing the last few years. And, but then again, you hear that about that body type that's supposedly what they're looking for. That's obviously sounds like what Vince has always loved, is the bigger guys.
They last longer.
In with WWE? No,
like in general, bigger guys last longer. Like look at, I'll say it, look at Hogan, look at Warrior. Those guys weren't really injured a lot. And then you go to Shawn with the back injury, and you go to Daniel Bryan with the concussions and stuff like that. Bigger guys are more durable. They do last longer. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing too is, so let's kind of touch on this with the draft. I imagine there's going to be a lot of call-ups coming up soon, as far as, we've been hearing the reports, Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed, Scarlett Bordeaux, and Shotzi Blackheart have been working dark matches. Bronson and Karen have been doing some stuff on Main Event. So with that being said, are you excited for these guys, Mike, to be getting called up and, moving on over to Raw or SmackDown respectively, or at the same time, are you going to be a little sad that they're going to be gone from NXT pretty soon?
I really love NXT right now. I love what they're doing. I think that there's some fresh stuff happening down there. There's got to be chances taken by any of the brands, whether it's NXT, SmackDown, or Raw. And I think that's something that's been lacking. I know Philip has been enjoying Raw quite a bit, but there was a while there that it was getting really stagnant, where there was the same matches kind of every week, or they were using such. This is my biggest criticism of WWE, and it's not a criticism because they're going with what they feel is the best situation. But there was a time, and you guys, I'm sure both saw this, where there were guys on the show, guys and women that were doing multiple matches a show. Yeah, and it's like you have this giant roster of people, yet you're using like 12 people, and it made no sense to me. And I mean, from that aspect, it's like, I know people like get a little, they get sick of people that are being used every week, and it's like with, I think there are certain people that have to be there every week, or Lashley has to be there, but Lashley wasn't even on the show last night.
Yeah, well, this week's episode.
That's another thing, man. I mean, like, there's a burnout factor with certain stars, like, Drew McIntyre, and I know people are really starting to get tired of him, and I know we love him here on the show, but yeah, like, you don't need to see every single, like, the recurring 12 or whatever, like, all the time. You know what I mean? Like, Riddle, he doesn't have to show up for like 2 weeks. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to see Drew all the time. Like, when he took those couple weeks off, it was actually kind of refreshing not to see him all the time. You know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing for me, and this is me being the sports side of me, the sports fan side of me. And you mentioned the draft coming back. The one thing I wish they would do, because they make a big deal about the draft, and they've always done it. I've always hated the way they've done it, just in the way it's like, okay, well, it's not really, it's kind of a draft, but it's not really, but like what I wish they would do during the times when we're not in draft season, I wish occasionally, just not every week, but every month or two, maybe you throw a trade in, or hey, Robert Roode was on SmackDown, and they maybe trade him for Nikki Cross or something, just something weird like that kind of make some things and kind of make something out of that. I think that would be a lot of fun, and that kind of just plays into what you're talking about with the draft and that sort of thing. And the whole issue of like the draft of people being left off and then they're signed as free agents, and it's like, okay, well, I don't get into that so much. I love the draft. I love seeing what's happening, but when you look at it and it's just not a true draft, it's just kind of like, okay, well, and then they give Raw so many extra people because it's a 3-hour show instead of a 2-hour show. Well, let's just make it even. Let's just do a 2-hour show.
Yeah. No, I very much
I'm going to say it right here. You heard it here first. Raw should be a 2-hour show.
I'm with you. I agree with you on that one.
USA does not agree with me.
I know the money, the commercial money they get from that. But no, I hear everything you're saying, and like I very much agree with you about the trade stuff, and I think that's when GMs really come into play. We have Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, and I wonder maybe with the draft, maybe each of them focuses on one show. Like Adam Pearce is Raw, Sonya is SmackDown. They eventually break up.
My favorite thing about the draft last time was when they had the Fox representatives and they had the football guy with the football robot.
The graphic, yeah.
That was funny.
So, but one of the things with the draft, the rumor is that Big E is supposedly going to be drafted over to Monday Night Raw, and I think WrestleVotes was the one who tweeted it out that the New Day are going to reunite, but Big E is still going to be very much a single star, which to me is great because I think the New Day, they all three of them can go after, have singles runs. I think, for the longest time they were trying to do the Freebird thing, which was great, and just the tag titles, and they dominated for years. I loved all that stuff. But I think easily all of them could be still part of the New Day overall, but they can all have the individual identities, which I want that. I totally think they could still do that. Philip, though, with that being said, do you think that's a little soon to reunite the New Day on Monday Night Raw, or are you all for it, but as long as they keep everyone having singles runs?
How long have they been apart? Like 7 months?
It was October last year, right? It was the draft when Big E got... So, yeah, 8 months now, roughly.
I mean, they can be together, but they don't have to be together all the time. You know what I mean? Like, if you said he's going to have a singles run, that's cool. But I mean, it would freshen him up, yes, sure, but then what are you going to do for SmackDown with the babyface? You have to have an equal trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing is, maybe I was thinking maybe towards more once this official announcement comes out with the draft is like fantasy book some names. I mean, I think the main event and the top of the mid-card scene needs to be shuffled because Roman's gone through everyone of significance, I feel like, on SmackDown. So you need some new names.
Honestly, let's leave Big E on SmackDown because, I mean, SmackDown's a predominantly heel show. You have, what baby faces do you have? You have Big E, you have Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens is gone.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I think that I'm sorry. The thing I was going to say about Big E is I really I think that Roman obviously coming back and being this amazing heel, he's the best thing in WWE right now. I think overall, I think that his return is huge, and then him coming in and he is just mesmerizing to watch. And any of his promos and the stuff with Heyman is great. I can't wait to see what happens, when and if they bring back Lesnar, because that would be awesome. But I mean, obviously, you've got to see. Here's my opinion on it is that I believe that Big E has a great heavyweight champion title run in him coming. I don't know when it's coming. Maybe not this year. Maybe not 22. But I mean, I think that I would like to see a program with him and Reigns. I think that's for me the next logical step for SmackDown. And I thought that because he had that run with the Smack, is it the Intercontinental title or the U.S. title?
Intercontinental title. Yeah,
Intercontinental title. I mean, he was great, but it felt short to me, and I felt like when he lost the title that he was going to go right in with Roman. But we're obviously we're a ways away from that, but. I love both of them a lot. I think they're both very, very talented, and I think that Big E has a really big future. I mean, he's had a great career so far, but I think that he should be in that main event picture for the rest of his career.
Absolutely. So can't wait to see what happens. So I think that's what we'll do is keep it on the back burner is potential draft picks, who should go where. Maybe we could do that in a later episode.
I'm busy that night.
Damn you, Mike. Damn you. But no, I look forward to that, see what the shakeup is. I think just to keep things fresh, we need some new fresh matchups and, and see what NXT call-ups are going to happen. So it makes things exciting, gets buzz talking again.
Have you ever considered the fact of doing a draft on the In The Kliq podcast? Maybe bringing in a new host?
Make a trade.
Yeah, maybe we could trade you for player to be named later. For,
Bro, I'm telling you, just get rid of Richard and keep me here permanently. That's all you have to do.
Man, I've been getting hit. Or Philip, I was telling you, I was getting DMs from people who want to be on the show now.
Because
this
know
is my
I'm
last
here.
appearance, just so you know.
First and last.
I mean, this has already gone too long.
Well, even last week, John LaRocca made his big return to the podcast. That was awesome.
I love LaRocca. Maybe he could be the host.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get rid of you, bring him in.
You gonna send me through the barbershop window?
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Mike's going to be one to do that.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. I don't have time for that. But
he's a busy guy, man.
I don't care enough. I don't care enough to do that.
Oh, man. So, yeah.
This is going downhill fast. Sorry, Philip. Sorry to ruin your show.
Oh, my God. So, all right. Let's move on over to this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, big Saturday night edition. I guess... Before we kind of break down some of the highlights, I just want to ask you guys. So listen, for the last, month, they've been on Friday nights because of the NBA playoffs been pushed back. I don't know about you, but I just felt like that run of shows, for the most part, was not too inspiring. Maybe that's the word. I don't want to say like they've been phoning it in, but I feel like maybe since they knew they were going to be on late Friday night, they weren't going to put some of their major storylines into play yet or some of the bigger matchups. That's just something I kind of noticed lately. But now I felt like on Saturday, this past Saturday episode, I think they're starting to get the engines running again. They got some good things in the works now. And then this coming Wednesday, they're going to be back live on Wednesday with the live crowd, and they're going to start touring. So it looks like I think things are starting to pick up once again. But Mike, just kind of your overall thoughts on this episode of Saturday night edition of Dynamite.
Well, I think that the opener and the closer were amazing. I think they were great matches. I think that there's something that we need to talk about here, and you guys are both huge independent wrestling fans, local independent wrestling, especially here in the NorCal area,
especially all the guys you represent.
Exactly. I mean, but what I'm saying is, I think that people that are listening to this podcast, I'm not sure how many of those people are following independent wrestling. I imagine that they are to a degree. But if you have not been to your local independent wrestling show, you are going to see the stars of the future in San Francisco, in San Jose, in East Bay, in Sacramento, like everywhere. Like, I mean, I'm not going to – there's so many different great promotions in NorCal. But, the man who really, I think, had a great match in the opener, Will Hobbs, you could have seen him here for years wrestling. And he was great. He's as great as he is now. I mean, so I think he's taken it to another level. But, and then you see somebody like Jungle Boy. Now, Jungle Boy is very young still.
Yeah.
But he's been wrestling for a very long time. I mean, he was wrestling in San Francisco, like I would say almost 10 years ago. Like, I mean, it's amazing that you could have seen Jungle Boy. I mean, those APW shows that he was on were amazing. And, Hobbs is on there as well. This is not a coincidence. Marcus Mack is a masterful scout of talent. I mean, he has done a great job with APW. And I mean, there's a ton of other promotions in NorCal that have done the same thing. They see these guys in other venues around the country, and they're bringing them in. Scott with West Coast Pro, Maynard at East Bay. I mean, I'm not trying to forget anybody. Big Time Wrestling with Kirk White, and then their champion Shane Cody. I mean, Ugg doing an amazing job. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody, but these you
can forget about Shane Cody.
I don't know why you would say something stupid like that. But I'm saying, like, if you're looking at
inside joke for the Kliqsters,
if you are, I'm going to jump down off the soapbox, but I mean, if you have a promotion that's running anywhere near you, go watch it.
Yeah,
I think the next time you have a chance to go see something, I think West Coast is running next week. UGG was running now. I think Pro Wrestling Revolution's another huge example.
Yep.
I mean, Gabe has done a great job. I mean, there's Supreme Pro Wrestling in Sacramento. There's so many other promotions that are popping up everywhere.
The one in Petaluma. I want to check
out. Best of the West in Fresno. If you're down in Fresno, Mike Rain has done an amazing job down there. Stuff. Yeah, I mean, Hood Slam is doing some amazing things. I mean, Mansoor, Manny Favorino. I'm going to forget a ton of people, but like Shotzi Blackheart got her start in Hood Slam. I mean, she's wrestled everywhere, and
it's
bro. I mean, like, let's really look at it. Like, in not just AEW, but in the wrestling world, you see Zicky Dice go become the NWA champion. Thunder Rosa, NWA Women's Champion. You got Hobbs, you got Jungle Boy, you got Shotzi, you got Jake Atlas. They've all wrestled here in the Bay Area for different promotions.
Sure.
But they were all consistently on APW.
Swerving made an appearance out here before.
Yeah, that was like one of his last shows before he got signed, man. There's something in the water here in the Bay Area, but and in NorCal. But APW, man, like I don't know what it is about that company, but like you wrestle there for a significant amount of time, you're guaranteed. It's basically like a Money in the Bank contract. You're guaranteed to be signed. So.
It's actually Mike. Or go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, Supreme Pro Wrestling has turned out John Morrison and Timothy Thatcher. I mean, that's really hard to top. I mean, they trained at SPW.
Well, I was going to say, actually, Philip and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago because we recapped one of our first indie shows together that we've seen in a long time. And, but yeah, just, 2016, 17, 18, 19.
2016 to 2019. There was a boom.
A boom, amazing talent, and a good portion of them all got signed by the big companies, which is great. But, looking ahead now.
I think that's about when I started. Coincidence? I think not.
Absolutely.
What's your the company you work for, your agency that you represent?
I work with All Star Sports. I'm the head of acquiring talent.
Gotcha. All Star Sports. Gotcha. No, it's I like that company a lot.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, back to Dynamite. I think that the Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs was a great opener for that show. I think that had a bigger match feel than I think they anticipated. I think the fans really got into it. I think that's the other great thing about AEW right now is that they, getting the fans back involved. It just gives so much more energy. And I mean, obviously that's. Oh, really, Mike? Fans make a wrestling show better? But yeah, I mean, it just does. I mean, and that's a great venue for that, especially with fans in there. I mean, it was fine when it was, but with just kind of the folks that were ringside that were
staff,
the students and staff. But and then of course the main event. I mean, can't say like Jungle Boy was already a big fan favorite, and people love him, and Kenny Omega is just such a great wrestler. And they're both, and Jungle Boy is just he's a great up and coming wrestler. And he's already, he's main evented Dynamite. I mean, you don't get much bigger than that. I mean, so these are two matches that really stood out on that show, and I've talked about this before. I think Phil, you and I talked a little bit about it. Like, you have a 2-hour show, and I mean, this has been proven everywhere. It's like, not everything's going to be a hit. But like when you hit and you hit big, AEW when they hit really big. Sometimes their misses are a little bigger than others, but they're trying so many different things, and it's such. I love the fact that things are they're a little different. There's a different feeling when you're watching the show.
I'll say that, no, definitely. AEW, I'll be honest, has been like hit or miss with me lately on some stuff. But you're going to get that with every wrestling promotion. No one has a perfect show. That's obvious. But what keeps me watching AEW every week is, yes, it is a different look, a different feel, different roster, obviously, commentators, all aspects, the production of it. It's just different because WWE, for example, has their certain style, the look, their presentation. So for AEW, at least for me, it's just a nice change of scenery. You just, it's like a buffet, with like, what was it? You like to have different options to eat every once in a while. You don't want to eat the same thing over and over. So with that being said, with the Dynamite, though, with this week's episode, I just really felt like, the fans really stood out. But you could tell that they're starting to build up some new storylines moving forward, or things are starting to get a little excited again. Because I felt like it was just a lot of random matches over the last few weeks. But this week, it's like, okay, they're kind of getting back on track of like, what are the big storylines we want to focus on. But with the first match here, Hangman Adam Page taking on Powerhouse Hobbs. I love that opener. It was really intense, hard hitting. It was a little unfortunate. Hangman got busted open hard way on that pole on the outside and was bleeding from the top of his head.
Hey, red equals green, brother.
Absolutely. But I love Hobbs with that spine buster.
That was beautiful.
That was so good. I mean, that was Arn Anderson-esque level of a spine buster. But Hangman ultimately got the victory, so he's starting to get back in the momentum going for him. I mean, Philip, do you think he should be the one to ultimately dethrone Kenny Omega?
Well, they've already teased it on being the Elite. Like, at the ending sequence was a shot of the AEW title and then a shot of Hangman looking like, oh boy, So it's coming. And he should be the one to dethrone Kenny. It just makes sense.
Yes.
Well, one thing about being the Elite, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Philip, because that's something that I think is really important here. I feel like, obviously they want people to watch Being the Elite, but I feel like there's not there are certain things that are done on Being the Elite that are not ever referenced on Dynamite. And I think that, I'm not saying you need to like show like the 20-minute Being the Elite show on there, but that would have been a crucial thing to show. Maybe not this week, but like maybe in a couple of weeks or something. Like show that, or maybe that clip, or allude to things that are being done on Being the Elite, and maybe a minute recap of the last episode or something. And maybe that would help people go watch it on YouTube, because they get a lot of viewers, but it's definitely not as high as the Dynamite viewership.
Absolutely, man. That is something. They need to do that for BTE when it's something that relates to a story that's going to play out on television. They need to do that for Dark and Dark Elevation. Like, this guy's been undefeated for 10 weeks. Really? Where? On Dark? Oh, I don't watch that. You know?
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the other thing, too. And we've talked about this off air. Like, there's, 120 hours of wrestling a week now? Like, I mean, there's so much to watch, and then they're adding a new show, the Rampage show, in like a month. So I mean, it's going to be crazy, and I think that I think that that's the one thing that I would say about AEW that like my biggest criticism of them is that there's certain things that don't translate from. Well, another thing, just like I said with Being the Elite. There are certain things, show a highlight from Dark, or show a highlight from Dark Elevation, or whatever, and just bring more people involved in what's going on. Like, it doesn't hurt to have, to show Dante Martin before he comes out. I know we were going to talk about that match too, but Dante Martin's getting some wins on Dark. Well, when he's coming out, show a clip of that. Mm-hmm. Hey, you got this. This is his finish. You establish the person by show him hit his finisher, and boom, he gets a 3 count. That's huge.
Yeah, no, actually, you guys both brought up some good things as far as AEW. Like, if you're a fan of AEW, in their short time period of existence, they are giving you a lot of content week to week between Dynamite itself, Rampage that's going to be coming, Dark, Elevation, Being Elite, stuff on social media, stuff on their YouTube channel. So there is plenty of stuff if that's all you want to focus on. But with that being said, I feel like since Dynamite never addresses any of that stuff, it makes you wonder how important really that is. So I think if they want to make sure those other shows are worthy for our time to tune in, if we're on the fence about tuning in, they should reference it more. And that's something, Mike, you mentioned earlier, listen, they do a lot of stuff in every episode of Dynamite. Some stuff works, sometimes some stuff don't. I think sometimes, and I've heard other people talk about this, like there are times they try to force a lot in one episode of Dynamite and things don't have time to breathe. So it makes you, I'm wondering, maybe just came to me off what you said, is maybe instead of trying to force so many different little segments or like after the match, like people come running out to the ring and attack someone, like let stuff wrap up, finish, breathe, maybe cut to, a highlight from something from Being the Elite, like a major story beat that they should recap on, something from Dark, Elevation. And that way they kind of really document properly on their A show, kind of the whole AEW universe. You know what I mean? I think
you make a great point there, Huey, and I think Philip, write this down because I think it's the first time. But I think when you said let it breathe, I think that's a great point because the one thing that I remember going back a few weeks, it was SCU, Kaz and Daniels against the Young Bucks. Mm-hmm. The Young Bucks win that match. Great. Okay. You could kind of feel it was coming, whatever, but this is the end of an era for SCU. And these are guys, obviously with Sky not being a part of it anymore, the SCU was, Kazarian was the first tag team champion in this company. I just felt like it took a little bit of steam away from what that moment was. Mm-hmm. And because there's so many moving parts and they've got to get so many things in, but that's the biggest thing I would think is like, let it breathe. Just take a moment.
Absolutely.
What else? Another thing they need to do, we need to stop all the run-ins. This isn't 2000 WCW. This needs to stop.
Yes. But it is.
Well, and we'll get into that with the main event. Let's go ahead and actually just jump into this main event here. So Kenny Omega took on Jungle Boy. Now, this was a match that came out of Double or Nothing. Jungle Boy won the Casino Battle Royale, and it originally was going to be on that following Dynamite, but I like that they actually pushed it back to this Saturday, and so they actually had a little bit more time to build up to it. Kenny and Jungle Boy were having a little bit back and forth in the hallway, the last couple episodes. So they obviously trying to build up Kenny Omega, the pro wrestling god right now, the different titles that he has, the belt collector gimmick. Jungle Boy, total underdog here. With this match, though, I enjoyed the match just watching it visually. Obviously, they hit a lot of big spots, both high flyers. Great working with together. My only issue, or it's a major issue, is Jungle Boy... He's got like some vibes from like Johnny Gargano from a few years ago when he's in a big match and like emotionless, like not showing a lot of emotion or reacting to different story beats in the course of the match. Like he comes out, fans love him. He's got the 80s Tarzan theme song. Everyone's singing along. So imagine when they go back on the road, people are going to be singing over and over. I can imagine for months and years to come. And you could tell he walks out and I could tell he's like, looks a little maybe nervous. He's like taking it all in. It's like, wow, like this whole sold out arena, Daly's place is cheering me on. Like this is my big moment, the biggest match of my career. But during the course of the match though, I just felt like I wish he was shown more, like emotions or just things in the match that really stood out. And this is something John LaRocca tweeted out, and that's what I was texting with him earlier. Just he thought he wished Jungle Boy would have shown a little bit more fire. And so him and I were talking about it. It's just like, this is the biggest match of your career. I want to see moments where you're trying to give it your all. You're the underdog. You're the still very much like maybe a rookie compared to Kenny Omega's standard. And so you're putting every bit of energy, and Kenny Omega keeps kicking out. Like I want you to look frustrated. You want to look like upset, like you're desperate. You know what I mean, Philip? Is that kind of make sense to you?
A couple things you touched on Johnny Gargano, man. You watch any of those DIY matches and like the stuff with the Ciampa, but he was showing aggression and facial expressions. And then with Jungle Boy, I do feel like he's kind of emotionless at this point in time. Mm-hmm. I remember like watching him and Jake Atlas like wrestle at APW, there was a lot more emotion there.
Yeah, just show some more charisma, I guess. Maybe that's the word. But it's like, dude, like you hit a big high flying move, and Kenny Omega kicked out, and you're like, you're fighting for the AEW World Championship at your young age. Like, I want to see you, like, get frustrated or look to the crowd, like, for help, like you're asking the crowd to, like, amp you up or something. Just kind of, call and response with the crowd. I don't know, but I'm just like, it was just watching. It was the same face the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of direction needs to given from the back of how to go out there and perform, but it's just like, I want to see more from him, that, like, this match is a big deal. And I'm just jumping ahead already to the end. Kenny Omega wins. And Philip, as you said, people running in, I felt like that could have been a great opportunity for Kenny Omega to win and maybe leave right away. And Jungle Boy in the ring just looks like so distraught and upset that he lost this biggest match, and then the crowd can really sympathize for him. That's a little bit, but they don't let moments like that breathe, like what I said earlier. I don't know, Mike, am I overthinking this? I'm just trying to, like, I want to see Jungle Boy do amazing. I love Jungle Boy. I want to see him. I could tell they have big plans for him. He's going to be a long-term player with that company, but I want them to start laying that foundation right now.
I mean, I think when you're when you have somebody like Jungle Boy in this match, I think this is something. I'm not going to say people are like, okay, well, there's no way he's winning this match. Of course, there's always a chance, right? Mm-hmm. But, like, when you have somebody with his talent, and you could see this, and this has been building for quite a long time now on these AEW shows. He's had a lot of very, very good matches on AEW, and this was a chance for him to shine. And I really feel that he did. I think that, I agree with what you're saying. Like, there's a lot of talk out there, and they're being critical of him and that sort of thing. And sure, maybe he should have, like, called on the fans or some, or his Jungle Boy fans, like, to get them to really fire him up. But that was the story of this match. Was he was focused on Kenny Omega. He wasn't focused on, being a Hulkamaniac. Like, he wanted, in my opinion, to focus on beating Kenny Omega. It's the biggest match of his career. And yeah, of course, the fans are huge and they're behind him 100%. And that being said, Kenny Omega is doing a great job on the heel side. Mm-hmm. Let me just sidebar that. But Jungle Boy, he's doing his best to win this match. And I think that people, I think that they're just taking a microscope to it. And I don't think it needs to be there. This is a match where it set him up for, he had a great match. If he would have come out and not had a good match, sure, whatever, take him down a peg or whatever. But this is something that's setting him up for the future. Okay. I could totally see him winning the AEW title after that match.
Okay.
In the future. I don't know if it's going to be, like, it could be in 2024.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to get a rematch in 2 months and win it. I'm saying, like, that set the future up for a Jungle Boy win as AEW heavyweight champion. I just wonder at what point he will become Jungle Man.
Exactly. Or just Jack
Jungle
Perry.
Man already.
Because, I mean, we had the Young Bucks, and they're getting older. Jungle Boy, he's 24, so he's still young. But
no, trust me,
he's a jungle teenager.
Can we edit that?
He's Jungle Man, trust me. But I think he needs to have, like, a nice run. With, like, I don't like too many titles. I criticize WWE for, but if they were to add, like, a cruiserweight title that, like, Pac and Phoenix and Cassidy and Jungle Boy could fight over, that would be cool. Or, let him and Luchasaurus run roughshod with the tag titles, or put the TNT title on him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the TNT title obviously is that next step. I truly believe in people building their career in that way, Philip. I think that's a great point. I mean, that's like your seventh great point tonight, just so if we're keeping track. I think you got it written down. But and I think Huey's still at 1, right?
Yeah. Batting 1,000.
No, but yeah, I mean, could you imagine? No. Could you imagine the pop if they built this right? That Jungle Boy beats a monster Miro.
Yeah, it could be there. I mean, I think that they've done a really good job I think they've done a really good job building some of these guys. I think they've done a great job with Orange Cassidy, with Jungle Boy, obviously MJF, and Darby Allin, of course. I mean, he's amazing. So I'm a really big fan of Darby Allin.
Well, I just hope, with that being said, Mike, with your observations of his performance in this match, I do hope they keep that momentum going for Jungle Boy. This is where you keep your foot on the gas pedal and he start having him rank up some big wins again. And, maybe down the road, yes, he has opportunity to challenge for that title again, or who knows what's next. I just don't want them to be one and done, and then he falls back down to the mid-card scene or just,
he's been here before. He wrestled Chris Jericho when he was AEW champion.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chris Jericho, go pick up his new book.
Nice. No, that's awesome.
But yeah, man, I mean, like Mike said, I do believe he will be the AEW heavyweight champion. It's only a matter of when.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's going to be a big moment when that time does happen.
I know we kind of were finishing up on AEW. The one thing I did want to mention, and we did talk about this a little bit earlier, was Dante Martin getting that the match with Matt Sydal. I think was a very, very good match, and I really think that he showed some things there. I thought it's funny. We were talking about some great things and some kind of odd things. I know it's going to lead to some sort of an angle, but the thing with Vicky Guerrero and Andrade at the beginning of that match was so awkward. I mean, it was like, I was like, what's going on here? But anyway, but Dante Martin is 20 years old. I mean, they've got such a great youth movement there right now. I mean, Jungle Boy's 24, and Dante's 20, and of course Dante's getting a chance because his brother's injured. But I think that once we get to that point, I really think the Top Flight's a future tag team champion.
I'm with you. Like a lot of the younger tag teams, I'm a big fan of. Top Flight, the Acclaim.
Acclaimed are awesome. I love them.
I love those guys. Just
love the Acclaim.
But with Top Flight, I mean, I'm glad Dante is still getting a run, because usually when tag teams, one gets hurt, the other guy gets taken off TV. So I'm glad Dante still has an opportunity to shine. I mean, imagine those guys 5 years from now, when they're in their mid-20s and they've had 5 years of experience on mainstream cable television for a major pro wrestling company. They're going to be
all going to be in NXT. What do you mean?
I mean, hey, that's something I've thought about. It's like, maybe for a fun future episode, we can fantasy pick who from AEW is going to be in NXT in the years to come.
People have already.
I'm busy for that one.
People have already made that jump. It's just that it hasn't really had any predominant success, but just wait.
Yeah. So, but this match, I mean, it's amazing, just the high flying stuff. I mean, the big highlight I think a lot of people on Twitter were reacting to is that the fact Dante Martin hit a sunset flip with the sunset from Daly's Place in the background going down. And there's actually some great photos. I have one photo I was going to share on In The Kliq social pages. So, it was just cool. Killer shot of him in the air and the sunset's happening right behind him. Amazing, beautiful photo. But no, I'm looking forward to Dynamite getting back to things on Wednesday this week, live in front of a crowd, them beginning their tour schedule. And was it Road Rager? The following week's going to be in Miami, Philip, right? So they're going to have a lot of theme episodes coming up in July. So we'll do our best to document and review all those episodes. So I'm looking forward to that. So, all right, let's move on over to Monday Night Raw this week. Like I said at the top of the show, we haven't done too much talk of Raw because there's been a lot of issues with that show. I mean, you look on Twitter Monday night, you see everyone's reaction from the whole internet wrestling community just about the ups and downs of Monday Night Raw. There's some good moments.
This is what happens. They complain, but yet they're still watching.
Oh, absolutely.
You must like it if you're going to keep watching it. Shut up.
It's a love-hate relationship at that point. So
there is something called hate watching, Philip.
Look, things.
It's not me. I love watching. I just love watching all wrestling. So whenever I get a chance to do that.
Maybe I'm a normal human being, but if I don't like something and I hate it, I don't watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a show. There was a TV show, the series that I just finished watching. I will not name it, but I watched the first 4 seasons of it. I loved it, and then like it kind of just jumped the shark, and then the last 2.5 seasons I just kind of hate watched it, and I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Interesting. No, I'm with you. There was a show I was very much invested in, but then the later season it just got so bad I stopped watching. It's still going on.
What show is that? What show is that, Huey?
It's a show. How can I? Oh yeah, it's The Walking Dead. I'll just say it. I don't care.
Oh yeah,
it's The Walking Dead.
A lot of people are hate watching that.
I just gave up on that show. Like I loved the first few seasons, then it got really tough to watch. But I'm with you, Philip. I think there's a lot of people who criticize Raw, but it's funny that they still watch it every week and have a criticism. So either, they want to get some social following hits, or they got a podcast themselves they're trying to review for, or they're just watching for the hell of it. But, I will admit, last week and this week, Raw has been getting a little bit better, I think, because they know the end is near. The Thunderdome era is about to wrap up. So it's like, okay, we're going to get ready for the fans. Money in the Bank is coming up. We're going to start setting up for storylines for SummerSlam. So I think they're like, okay, very similar to Dynamite. I'm not saying they were kind of going through the motions, but maybe they're holding back some stuff, and maybe they got some big surprises. I mean, you can speculate Brock potentially coming back, Becky Lynch, the draft shakeup, everything we've been talking about earlier. So I would imagine Raw is probably going to get better. I want to be optimistic that good things are coming on the horizon here. But this episode, it was all about Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle was the star of Monday Night Raw this week. As we saw from last week's episode, he was upset, or he felt bad that he qualified for the Money in the Bank, but Randy Orton, his tag team partner, did not. He felt really just, like I said, upset, guilty, I guess you could say. This week, Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley were not on the show. Now, they didn't give specific reasons why. I'm guessing maybe it was just a day off for both of them. Especially
Lashley was on vacation. That's what MVP said.
Yeah.
They deserve it, Like, give him a break. You don't need to be on 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's WWE champion. It's like, when the champion shows up, that should be a big deal. So,
how often did you see Hogan as a kid, man? Not a lot. Not a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it meant something, yeah. So he doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So, I like the beginning of this episode. So they had this battle royal to determine the replacement for Randy Orton's spot in the triple threat for the main event, which was a last effort to qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder match here. So the battle royal I really enjoyed, but Riddle beforehand talking to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville had like that handwritten note. It was fun. It was obviously Matt Riddle's handwriting. And Philip, why are you shaking your head?
Look, I don't know. It didn't land with me. And the way he says his name, but Randy, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why is he there? Why is he employed with this company?
Really? You're not a fan of Matt Riddle?
No.
No. Oh man! No, listen. I know his humor.
You don't listen to my show. I say this every week.
But you love Kenny Omega, right?
Oh God, no.
Sorry, but Riddle. Listen, I know Riddle. His humor can be very hit or miss. When he first got called up, it was very much just like the stoner vibe dude. But I really think his humor has been a little bit more focused ever since he's aligned himself with Randy Orton. And I think it's been a lot better for him. And I imagine when the fans return, they're going to love Matt Riddle. I really think that's what's going to happen here. Matt Riddle's going to become a big fan favorite because he hasn't had a chance to wrestle in front of the WWE Universe during the pandemic era, since he's been called up. But, Mike, what did you think of the Battle Royal itself? I like that. While the main focus was picking a winner for the main event, other stories did happen during the course of this match.
I think that's always important. I think that's a good way to start some things. I think you have Mansoor and Mustafa Ali, heading somewhere for a match, which I think is going to be great. I think they're, Mansoor, from the Bay Area. He's so talented, and Mustafa Ali is great too. So that's going to be a great future. I just think everything that you do in a battle royal doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to fight you next week. But like it can build some stuff. So, and I'm going to tell you this right now. My favorite thing on WWE TV right now, outside of Roman Reigns, is R-Truth. And it has been. And he's been kind of missing for a few weeks.
Yeah.
A little bit. Well, like, that whole thing. And I love the element of, like, anybody can win it at any moment. And then, they get eliminated from the Battle Royal and they could have 3 title changes. I'm a big fan of the 24/7 title.
Nice. And it was also cool. We saw almost help eliminate the Viking Raiders. So probably AJ, for the tag titles, that's probably going to happen there, a storyline there. So, yeah, a lot of things happened in that match. I mean, Jinder, I still think Jinder should go after Drew McIntyre. If Drew McIntyre, well, not jumping ahead to the main event, but Drew is going to be in the Money in the Bank match. But, if there's a point where he has to step away from the main event title scene, I think Jinder and Drew having a program is a great way to keep him occupied. But yeah, Jeff Hardy was in there too. I mean, so there's a lot of great moments in this Battle Royal. Matt Riddle came out, wrestled as Randy Orton, and ends up winning. Therefore, he's part of the main event, which was the triple threat with Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles for a last chance spot for the Money in the Bank match. Philip, man, I rewatched that main event earlier tonight. I loved it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of triple threat matches because I feel like most of the time it's like 3 guys start out and then 1 guy gets knocked out to the side of the ring and then just turns into 2 guys. And then the other person comes back in and someone else takes a break. So it's always like they're alternating.
Somebody's taking a nap.
Yeah, someone takes a nap on the outside for a little bit. This match, I enjoyed how hard-hitting it was, how physical it was. Moments AJ and Riddle were helping each other, try to take down Drew. Drew was being really aggressive, cleared the table, but Riddle and AJ suplexed him on the table. Even the stuff they did on the outside of the ring was really good. Them taking turns of knocking each other down. All that stuff was really good. What'd you think of this main event?
I mean, it was cool. It was cool, man. I mean, Riddle like hurting his foot on the steps. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what you get for not wearing shoes, you dumbass. I mean, Riddle and AJ, they did work very well together. He did he did some of Randy's moves, the DDT. He did the RKO.
Yeah.
I think he even tried to go for a punt at one point in time, but then Drew just came in, cleaned house. Hit that Claymore on Riddle, and he's walking into Money in the Bank. And here's the thing, man. I never really realized how big Drew McIntyre was. No, because back in the day, he was always around like Taker and Barrett and Swagger, other big human beings. Now that the roster has gotten smaller in height and size, like he's an enormous human being who's going to be in there with some smaller individuals. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Mike, so we see at the end, Drew was on the outside. Riddle, was going to take out AJ, but then Drew comes in for the Claymore, picks up the victory. He's going to be in the Money in the Bank match. I see a lot of people frustrated. They're like, oh, man, we just saw him have like a bunch of matches with Bobby Lashley. He lose. This last Hell in a Cell match was the stipulation if he lost, he could never challenge for the title again as long as Bobby Lashley's champion. But now he's in the Money in the Bank, so is this going to be foreshadowing he's going to win the Money in the Bank, and that's his way of sneaking back in for another title shot?
But he can't cash it in, though, right, on Lashley?
See, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know if that
by the rule of law, if he cannot challenge Lashley, no matter if he makes the match himself, he can't do it, right?
I don't know. I don't know if Adam Pearce can...
What if he goes the Seth Rollins route and makes it a triple threat? Technically, he's challenging Lashley and somebody else. He can't challenge Lashley one-on-one.
I mean, for me personally, I love Drew McIntyre. I'm happy to see him. I like seeing him in the main event scene. I'm not burnt out on him. I know some people online were saying, oh, this is like Roman Reigns 2017, 2018 all over again. It's like forced down our throat. I don't know, Mike, like, are you burnt down on Drew McIntyre? Are you happy that he looks like sticking around in the main event title scene? I mean, I think Drew McIntyre should be champion, win a championship in front of fans. I think he deserves that. I think he was a great champion last year.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm a huge Bobby Lashley fan. I love what they've done with him. I think, everything that they've done with MVP and Bobby has just been outstanding. And so I honestly, I think that the next big match for Lashley should be Lesnar, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to beat him.
Yes.
Right. I believe so. But I mean, it's a hard thing. And then, and then there's a lot of different ways. If you sign back Lesnar and he comes in, and that's a great match with Lashley, but there's also like an instant thing ready for Reigns and Heyman versus Lesnar. That's huge. So, I mean, I'm definitely on the side of like, okay, well, Lashley has proven time and again that he's can beat McIntyre. Yeah, if he wins the Money in the Bank match, sure. I like the idea of a situation where McIntyre does win that title and then can't cash it in, so he's kind of upset about it. Or maybe that forces him to go after Reigns,
which I'm a big fan.
There's your drop. There's your mic drop, Philip.
There you
Put
go.
one down for me.
There you go. We're all got a good point in tonight.
That was like my 12th. But
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We should have a tally board, a whiteboard
It's actually
behind
his
me.
13th, but he was counting. Right?
Exactly. Another thing from Raw that really stood out to me was the face-to-face between Kofi Kingston and MVP. Just selling, obviously Kofi's match with Bobby Lashley at Money in the Bank. I really just dug this. I mean, it seemed just really, for both guys, very unscripted, very much from the heart, just speaking truths. And I mean, they're both great speakers to begin with. But Philip, I mean, what are some of your takeaways from this face-to-face matchup between these two legends?
I mean, I've really enjoyed it, especially the work they've been doing with each other these past couple weeks. I mean, we've been talking about Kofi Mania again recently. Kofi was like, yeah, man, MVP loved it. He cried, which is true. You can watch the footage. So, I mean, I just like what they're tapping into. And Kofi's getting serious. And it just goes to show that he was getting serious back in 2009 when he was feuding with Randy. Like, he's not just a goofy, fun-loving guy. He can tap into the truth and get serious. And right now, Kofi, he's tapped into the truth because he's back in the booth and he's ready to go.
I'm with you. It's like Listen, I love the New Day with, how over the top fun they are, but when they get serious, I think that's important for them. I think in order to be like a true legit threat for a championship, and you're going up against someone like Bobby Lashley who's been so dominant, like I need a serious Kofi for this challenge to make it believable that he can actually win this. I also like how he name dropped Xavier Woods as, a legit competitor. I think Xavier Woods always kind of like the odd man out between the three of them. He had a great Hell in a Cell match last week with Bobby Lashley. So that's going back to what I said earlier. If New Day reunite on Raw, I think all three of them can easily still have singles runs in them and not focus on maybe on the tag team division so much. I mean, I hate to say it, I don't think Kofi's going to win against Bobby Lashley at Hell in a Cell, at Money in the Bank. But, listen, if things with Brock Lesnar from a contract negotiation doesn't work out, maybe they can have a rematch at SummerSlam. I know it's not the bigger, sexier name for the marquee, but
you know what? They've been throwing around Cena and Reigns. What if Cena comes back to Monday Night Raw and goes after Bobby?
Very much, that's a possibility. I mean, I don't know what's what I think for them the priority would be for Reigns. That way he can like take down another legend and add more credibility to his.
I mean, Roman's already credible. It does more for Lashley.
True, absolutely. But I mean, I think for a lot of people, if they're like, okay, we're gonna spend this much money for John Cena, we want to put him in the ring with the biggest name WWE has to offer, which right now is Roman Reigns. I think that's probably the mindset. If John Cena has a very limited schedule with his filming schedule.
I mean, let's say they get Lesnar. There's the already tapped in thing with Heyman, like Mike said, and then we give Bobby Lashley, we give him Cena. And could you imagine the scene at SummerSlam of Cena just passing out to the Hurt Lock and Bobby Lashley standing over his carcass? The biggest star in the last 15 years, he beat him clean as a whistle in the middle of the ring.
That would be pretty awesome to see. I mean, but I wonder. Actually, the more I think about it, I'm jumping way ahead. I would love to see Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns at Survivor Series if he keeps the belt that long.
I posted that graphic. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, give it to me now already.
I'm ready to go.
How about this? I'm just throwing it out there. Is what if Kofi loses, but Big E wins the Money in the Bank briefcase and cashes on Bobby to get revenge for Kofi losing? Because we already saw Bobby take Xavier in Hell in a Cell last week and taunt Kofi on the other side of the wall to chain link fence there. But I mean, there's a lot of creative ways. That's one thing about Money in the Bank. What I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of different storylines they could potentially go down. I mean, we can fantasy book to her blue in the face, but I mean, there's some interesting things that they can go with. So
that's very true. But Mike, he's not amused by your fantasy booking. I see it in his face.
I'm just, I mean, we're still stuck at one.
I'm swinging.
Like he's an agent
swinging for the fences, and you're just striking out. So
I should play some softball then.
Yeah, man. Because like he's an agent, but I'm his agent. That's how this works now.
Thank you. So another thing I want to touch on real quick was the Ricochet John Morrison match here. Amazing stuff. I mean, Mike, that was like, when we were prepping before we recorded tonight, we were like, okay, where are highlights here? That was like the first thing you mentioned. It's like a Lucha Underground reunion. Obviously, Ricochet and John Morrison with their connections down there in the past. But yeah, please tell me what about this match really stood out for you?
Well, they're I mean, in my opinion, the two best physical athletes in the WWE. I mean, that's just my, that's what I view them as. And they had some amazing matches down there, and this was right up there with them. And they had, there's just something that when people have chemistry, you can just see it, and they do. And I would love to see a rematch next week. I think we might get it because it was a double count out, but the finish was ridiculous. I mean, Ricochet from the ring to the barricade. I mean, come on.
Crossbody
across. Yeah. I mean, it's just insane. And I mean, and that was after a very good match leading up to that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And actually, before the match, I thought it was kind of goofy with Miz and Morrison and Ricochet with the drip sticks going back and forth. I mean, I know it's very childish, but I'm a kid at heart, so I thought that was pretty funny. But listen, with this match and that finish, that's something I think people don't take or appreciate enough about the Thunderdome era, as far as, okay, real talk, to break the fourth wall. All right, Ricochet hits the crossbody on Morrison. They fall back, and then they cut to Miz reaction. You assume there's probably a crash pad on the other side of that barricade.
No, I didn't see a crash pad, so there wasn't one there.
So there's superhuman said.
Didn't see it, didn't happen.
I think someone saw it online. There was like, you saw them walking away with it, but no, but it was just cool. That's the thing with the Thunderdome era, is like, I think they're able to get away with some of that stuff because there's no live audience there, so they're able to kind of hide some things and kind of do some more over the top stuff. Even like with Roman, who threw Dominic Mysterio on the outside a couple weeks ago. You didn't see actually land, but then you saw him laying there afterwards. So
he got power bombed on the floor. Like, I don't stop trying to make it sound like they're trying to protect these people. This is wrestling. If you get yeeted by the tribal chief, you get yeeted by the tribal chief.
I know, I'm with you, but in this situation, and then with the double count out, which I know is, for most people, they hate that finish, but in this situation, that was such a high flying move, took both a big toll on both of them. It makes sense why neither one of them were able to get back into the ring in time. So I respect that story beat right there. I understand that. So yeah, probably going to lead into a rematch of some sort. But Mike, I want to ask you about Ricochet. Lately he's been wrestling kind of like in the black jeans and a little bit of a different look in the last month or so. Are you a fan of this? He seems to be a little bit more aggressive, and it seems to be getting a little bit more of some more TV time out of it.
I mean, Ricochet's always been one of my favorite superstars. I think that he's got, he obviously has the natural ability, and he's a great athlete. So, I mean, you take all that apart. I mean, I'm not really, I mean, I didn't notice when he switched, but I mean, I think the thing with Ricochet is that he's not had an amazing run with WWE in his tenure there. So I'm hoping, that there can be some things that happen with him that will launch him back into the kind of the bigger parts of what he can, what his potential is.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they pull the trigger and put the briefcase on him?
I it's hard to say. I mean, I think it's possible, but I mean, who knows with what they're doing. I really thought it was an awful piece of programming to have Otis win it and then take it away from him. That was honestly in the last year or two. I mean, there's been some other stuff, but that was probably my least favorite thing that's happened in wrestling.
It was obvious that was total buyer's remorse. At the time, Otis seemed like a very fun, lovable character, and they all thought, "Oh, this is great. Let's put the Money in the Bank on him." Total underdog, and how it landed on him. And then, within a couple months, you can tell they were probably like, "Yeah, we made the wrong call here." And so,
I don't understand why that was the case. I mean, I didn't think that he did anything wrong. Honestly, what I really thought that they were going to do, and just because Otis is such a lovable character and such a nice character guy, I thought when he won the Money in the Bank, he was going to turn it in to win the tag titles with Tucker. That's what I really thought he was going to do.
Mm-hmm. I thought that would have
been a fun story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. One last thing I want to touch on is Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley. So we saw Charlotte Flair team up with Natty and Tamina, take on Rhea Ripley, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke. Why? Okay, I don't know who to cheer for at this point. Is Rhea Ripley the bad guy, the heel, or Charlotte Flair the heel? Who's the babyface? Who's the heel here? Because Charlotte is teaming up with the babyfaces, and Rhea is teaming up with, I guess, technically the heels, Mandy and Dana. But Charlotte, I thought as of late, was more heel, and Rhea was more like a tweener. I'm so confused. Philip, can you, dissect this for me? What is going on here?
Well, first of all, Natalya, Tamina, Charlotte, love all three. They're the legacy of this industry. Rhea Ripley, you know what her character is? She's young and she's the world champion. That's it.
Yeah, no, the character's not good right now.
She's not. I mean, it's so far removed from what she was in the Mae Young Classic. She still looks like the Rhea Ripley that won the NXT Women's Championship. But what is she doing? I feel like they're putting too much thought into Rhea Ripley.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on. Just kind of let her be her. Give her some bullet points, and then kind of let her go out there and do her. And we do need a definitive who's the baby face and who's the heel. I just don't know what's going on now. I mean, the match at Money in the Bank should be good. I think they're going to tap into that next level. But the dichotomy of it all, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's just, for me, Rhea Ripley, she had a great performance in the Royal Rumble with Bianca Belair as the final two. And then she was off for TV or forbid. Then she re-debuted on Raw. But Mike, listen, it's been an ongoing theme for years. As people, NXT stand out, get called up a Raw or SmackDown, and they lose what made them special in NXT or aspects of them that we loved as a fan. I don't know, at this point, Rhea Ripley, even when she started on Raw, it felt like her promos were very robotic. She was trying to remember too much. I don't know. She was staring at the camera weird. I don't know. Is Rhea Ripley savable at this point? I mean, I don't want to say that's she's done, but I mean, it's what can they do to start fixing her up a little bit and just make her more of just a fun badass that she was in NXT?
Yeah, it's kind of hard because when you're in NXT, it's obviously it's a different. And I'm not going to say it's a different level because there might be an overall better group of wrestlers on the women's side in NXT than overall.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that bringing her up and putting the championship on her over Asuka was a huge. Here's your big boost, and then let's see what happens. I think it would be a mistake for her to lose the title to Charlotte at this point. I think that's what I think you need to. I think you kind of need to go with her for a while and see what happens, and then because Charlotte, people say this all the time, and it can be a little bit of a crutch, but there are a lot of wrestlers out there, and Orton's a huge one of these where they don't need a title.
Yeah.
You can put him in that picture whenever you want, whenever you need somebody, but then that's, he's been fine without that. And I honestly, I know that, it's maybe not a popular opinion in here, but I do like the RK Bro stuff. Like, it's really dumb. It's kind of corny, but
I love
Randy playing the straight man. I love that. And,
or like the big brother
vibe. Riddle can be a little annoying, but that's what a little brother does. And that's what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, oh shit, he got another one. He got another point. But yeah, so 2 and like 7 hours. That's where we're at, right?
Yeah, almost. Like an episode of Raw.
Yeah. So I think that I think Charlotte and Rhea should have a great match. I think, when I can't say that I'm not sitting here like looking at Rhea's promos like and dissecting them, but maybe if she isn't super strong on the mic, then don't have her cut a 3-minute promo. Have her cut a 1-minute promo. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I've always felt is less can be more if it's done the right way, especially in this area. There's my motto on a promo, especially if you're doing like a video, try to keep it under a minute if you can. I mean, maybe a minute 20 or so, but like try to keep it short. And then there's a lot of short attention spans in our country right now, and I have one of them. So, I don't want to bore myself. So, but yeah, I mean, there's, that's been the MO for WWE for so many years is the very long promo segments. And, that started, many, many, many years ago. But, it's just one of those things where you got to have Rhea get over in her own way. And that's building her as she was in NXT. And just like Philip said, you got to let her do her thing.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to make her something that she wasn't, then let her do what she can do.
Couple things. Probably give Rhea the Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy treatment. They get out there, they talk on the mic for like 45 seconds, and they get interrupted. And then with Rhea, like I heard this on the Jobber Tears podcast. Shout out to those guys. And I want to throw this at you guys. Is it that the main roster dropped the ball with the NXT talent, or they just couldn't adapt to the main roster?
Wow, I think
that's
it's
a good question. Yeah,
I think it's case by case.
That's probably for another podcast. But
yeah.
Rhea, if it doesn't like switch up by like what are we in the end of June, July? If it doesn't switch up by the beginning of September, then she might be one of those.
Wow, that's something to keep on. No, that could be a fun topic. That's a good question as far as whose fault is it really? So we can focus on that. But a lot of stuff happened on Raw. So I think things are getting, picking up. Looking forward to Money in the Bank coming up in a few weeks. And of course, fans coming back. I cannot wait for that as well. And so I think with that being said, hopefully the shows will be better and, we can maybe start focusing on Raw a little bit more on the podcast as well. But on that note, let's go ahead and start wrapping things up. Mike, first off, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. Where can all the Kliqsters find you online, keep track of you, of all the shenanigans you like to get into?
You can follow me on Twitter at MikeMiller209, Mike Stockton also on Twitter. And then you just follow the social for Stockton Con. That's the big one, STOCKTONCON. And that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and just come to our events. We've, I'm going to give you a little bonus here. We do have some very big wrestling guests coming to Stockton Con on September 11th and 12th.
Nice.
And we'll leave you with that.
Awesome. Okay. So follow them on social for those announcements. I look forward to that. Philip, how about yourself? Where can the Kliqsters find you?
On Twitter and Instagram, Heel Antwine, HeelAntWine, The Bulletcast on Instagram and YouTube, at Bulletcast on Twitter, Bulletcast on Facebook. Go check out my interview with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, the Hall of Famer. Shout out to Mike for making that happen yet again. I guess the next time you people will see me is that West Coast Pro. Bulletcast will be in full effect. I'll be there. Brandon will be there. Cindy will be there. The Bulletcast Championship will be making an appearance. So big things.
Really?
Yes. Yes,
can I get a photo
yes.
with it?
I don't know. You got Brandon. You got to talk to Brandon about that one.
I'll super kick Brandon.
Let's do it. Chop him.
Yes, I will chop him Walter style.
Stay clean, stay strong, get vaxxed and waxed. Diamonds are forever. So is the microphone messiah.
Awesome. Well, Philip, I do want to say good job with that interview with Ted DiBiase. Very proud of it. You did an awesome job. So please go watch that interview. It was very cool to see you and Ted DiBiase together. And of course, look in the background. You'll see Mike walking around back and forth, very much like Jim Carrey on In Living Color back in the day.
Mike telling me to hurry the hell up.
So I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. Of course, at In The Kliq for social as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the episodes as well. Get the merch by clicking the link in our bio, inthekliq@gmail.com, and we'll catch you on the next episode. On that note, let's go home, and that's the bottom line because Huey said so.